The only difference between that one and the other ones is a square round. So when I say square round, the base is round and the square tapers into a square so you can spin it round. Hindsight would have been a great thing. I wish I'd have actually made them all square rounds. The difference between the way that they function, there is no difference. They all work identically. It's just a different configuration of pot size. When it comes to choosing whether you should use one over the other, it really is personal preference, because we've proven over the years that you don't have to have a large pot to grow a large plant with AutoPot, because of the way that the aquavalve functions and the way that the plant controls the aquavalve. But they like what they've done traditionally. They like what they're used to. People are creatures of habit. If you want to grow a larger plant, then I would suggest that you use the XL 25 litre version, a slightly smaller plant, the 15 litre version, and then if you're growing herbs or you're growing vine crops or smaller plants, the easy to grow module. But it really is a personal preference. I mean, as I said, we've grown very huge 20-foot tomato plants in an 8.5 litre pot in 3 or 4 inches of coral. So, but like I said, people are creatures of habit, and they are familiar with large pots, large amounts of substrate. In basic terms, producing larger plants, in that you will get a larger root zone and you will get probably a larger plant in the long term. It really depends on how long you're intending to keep that plant in that pot. If it's a very long period of time and it's a very bushy plant, then you probably will go for the larger pot. But even though I'm saying that, I can grow a tomato plant for 11, 12 months, 13 months in an 8.5 litre pot. So no matter what I advise, I'm being a little bit hypocritical in what I'm saying, because the uses of AutoPot are very vast. So it really is ultimately down per personal preference for people, what they like to do and the way that they like to grow. Well, water and fertilizer really come hand in hand. So unless you are putting fertilizer by hand into the pot and only feeding water, you're still going to be saving water and fertilizer. So traditionally with AutoPot, you'll have a tank of water that you'll mix the fertilizer in. So you will always save an equal amount of water as you will fertilizer. Like I've mentioned previously, in trials that we conducted in, I think, 2006, 2007 and 2008, we've proven that AutoPot is probably the most environmentally friendly water saving system out there today. Even all these years later, and we proved that it can save up to 50% of water and 50% of fertilizer compared to any other system, because it's the plant that's dictating how that aquavalve works and only opening and closing under the plant's instruction. So as water and fertilizer are obviously blended together, the equal amounts of fertilizer and water will always be saved in equal quantities. No, it's not, in all honesty. Even though we've always preached in our instruction sheets, if people follow me on social media and look at my research and development facility, I don't think there's one pot in there that's got clay pebbles at the bottom. The reason we advise people to use clay pebbles or gravel or crocks, like our parents used to call them, which are just smashed up terracotta pots, is because it just adds a little bit of drainage at the bottom. For the flood level of the aquavalve was 20 millimeters, and then obviously it goes down to 0 and then floods again in accordance to the plant. So all we're trying to do is make people understand that if you have a little drainage zone at the bottom, it makes it just more forgiving for the plant. One thing that I would always mention, and if people do want to use clay pebbles at the bottom or grow stones, because these two substrates are very alkali. So if you want to put a layer of, say, maximum 30 millimeters, an inch and a bit at the bottom of each pot that you're using, you must, and I can't advise strongly enough, that you pre-soak and pre-treat the pebbles or grow stones prior to use. And the best way to do that is to soak the pebbles or grow stones in a pH of around 5.0 to 5.5 for a minimum of 24 hours, ideally 48 hours. Tip off that water, and you'll find, prior to doing that, you'll find that the pH has risen. Tip off the water, don't rinse them off, because then you'll be rinsing them with more alkaline water out of the tap, because it generally is more alkaline. Just rinse them off and then put them in the base of the pot. What you can also do You can also add maybe a quarter strength feed with that solution when you're calibrating the pebbles as well, and grow stones, because what you're doing at the same time, not only are you calibrating the pebbles to making sure that the pH of the pebbles has become more acceptable to the plant, but you're also adding a little bit of background feed there so the plant can take off a lot more quickly. So yeah, pebbles and gravel and crocks and grow stones, it's always nice to use them at the bottom of the pot, but if you're sensible and water your plant through and let the plant establish first, it's not always necessary, but most growers like to use them because it's a nice flood and drain.
For any questions that you may have, please leave a comment below and we'll try our best to answer. Don't forget to give us a like if you found this video helpful, and subscribe to our channel for more high quality, regularly released content.